Once again, good evening, everybody. You're listening to the Hour of the Time. I'm William Cooper. I wonder how much Papa Giorgio paid him to give that little message right before the Hour of the Time. I've got nothing against Michael Papa Giorgio, but he made a big mistake. He can't compete with the Hour of the Time. Let's go to Phoenix with Gene Miller and get our Monday evening metal report.
Good evening.
Hello, Gene. How are you?
Doing real good. How about yourself?
Well, it's 5 more days till Christmas, and I'm looking for a place to go.
Yeah, well, Merry Christmas to everyone.
What's going on?
Well, the metals are all looking very strong again. Gold, something about it. Even if you have to start off small, but do something before it's too late.
Thank you, Gene, once again for another wonderful Monday night metals report. Folks, don't forget, call now. You know how you tend to procrastinate. Do it now. 1-800-289-2646. That's 1-800-289-2646. You'll be glad that you did. Thank them for sponsoring the Hour of the Time. Mention my name, William Cooper, and make sure that you get all the newsletters and free information that you're entitled to as a listener of the Hour of the Time. And make sure that you talk to one of the wonderful people there at Swiss America Trading and get yourself covered. For those of you outside the continental limits of the United States, it's 602-953-6000. That's 602-953-6000. Now, folks, remember the sale that we have on all of our materials and information videotapes is ongoing until Christmas Day. Now, no post office is going to be open on Christmas Day, so we're going to honor any order that is postmarked on or before December the 24th. Anything postmarked after that, we will return to you. We will not be letting any of these items go for the sale prices after that date. So, remember, these are steep discounts. Hundreds of dollars people are saving. And quite a few people have taken advantage of this. Make sure that you get on it, too, because we're not going to repeat this. We have a 4.5-hour video set that normally sells for $82 if you're not a CAGI member and $67 for CAGI members. It's $50 now for CAGI and $60 for non-CAGI. This video set shows the anomalous structures on the Moon and Mars. They are official NASA photographs. It proves that somebody is on the Moon unless NASA is giving us phony photographs. And that's always a possibility, folks. But this video also shows the publications printed by the U.S. Government Printing Office, published by NASA, that we found these photographs in. You need extreme magnification and macro photography, just like we did, in order to find it and look at it. And we've done the work for you. So if you want that set, it's $50 for CAGI members, $60 for non-CAGI members. Video 1A is highlights from that set and is only 2 hours long, $30 for CAGI members, $40 for non-CAGI members. Video 2 is a 4-hour lecture that I did on the New World Order. I believe it was in San Diego in September of 1991. $50 for CAGI members, $60 for non-CAGI members. These are steep discounts. Video 3 is a 4-hour set linking the mystery religion with the New Age movement and the New World Order. It's $50 for CAGI members, $60 for non-CAGI members. Remember that the entire set of Mystery Babylon tapes from our series that we did on the Hour of the Time, it's a total of 32 hours. 32 hours of the Mystery Babylon series. Normally, folks, it's about $240 for non-CAGI members and about $180 for CAGI members, and that's before we added the other 2 tapes to it. Right now, they're on sale for $100 for CAGI members, $150 for non-CAGI members. Now, take advantage of this. The book is not on sale. The book, if you'd like to Behold a Pale Horse, 500 pages of the most suppressed, most well-documented suppressed information ever published in the history of the world. That's $25 post-paid for CAGI members, postpaid for non-CAGI members. Now, these prices are for people within the continental United States. If you're outside the continental United States, call Carolyn during the daytime, and she'll give you the postage that you need to send, or she'll find out what the postage is that you need to send on top of these prices. The address where you can send your orders is CAGI, C-A-J-I, P.O. Box 1420, Sholo, spelled S-H-O-W-L-O-W, Arizona, 85901. That's CAGI, P.O. Box 1420, Sholo, Arizona, 85901. If you'd like to call Carolyn here at the Research Center anytime during the daytime hours, please don't call her real early in the morning or real late at night. She has to rest just like everybody else. And heaven help you if you call in the middle of the night. The number is 602-333-5174. 602-333-5174. Our fax number is the same as the call-in number for the radio program. The fax number is 602-333-2174. When we're on the air, you cannot send a fax. When we're not on the air, you cannot call it with voice because it's only fax. Now remember that, folks. And also, beginning tomorrow night, we're going to be airing reruns for a while because we all need a vacation here. We're going to finish out the Mystery Babylon series, beginning where we left off. Tomorrow night will be Mystery Babylon number 22. And it'll go all the way up to January 3rd, where it will end with Mystery Babylon number 30. And then from January 4th through January the 10th will be some of the best tapes that we've aired, including Creator Endowed Rights, The Living Constitution, The Ozone Hoax Part 2, and Darlene Sherrill on fluoridation. I will be back in studio live on January the 10th. And during that week, in the first week in January, I will be in Las Vegas filming and investigating the Luxor Hotel, and we'll bring back tons and tons of information.
Well, folks, everybody in this country knows there's something wrong. I have yet to find anyone who says, everything's fine, there's nothing wrong, I'm not worried about a thing. Even the people who are pretty comfortable in their business and in their family life and who own their home and things seem to be going pretty good for them, they still know that something's wrong. Now that's pretty strange in a country that is pretty much made up of optimists, people who believe that we have the best opportunities, the best tools to realize those opportunities, and the most freedom of any people in the world. Now if that's true, what could possibly be wrong? Well, simply because everybody feels that there's something wrong, there is something wrong, whether there is or not, if you understand that concept. Whether there's a God or not, if 18 million people believe there's a God, then there's a God for those 18 million people, and those 18 million people who believe in that God are going to affect the rest of the people who live in this world. So I hope you understand that principle, that even if something doesn't exist, if enough people believe in it, for all practical purposes, it's real. It's real. You have to understand that. Because what we're dealing with, what is really wrong, ladies and gentlemen, is there is a group of men and women, but the people who make the decisions, I can assure you, are men, in this world, who have had a dream for thousands of years. They exist in secret societies. They plan in secret. They exist in a world where there are organizations within organizations within organizations, wheels within wheels within wheels, if you will. And where only the people at the very top in the inner circle, what's called the inner circle, and you will see that sometimes in print. You'll be reading something and they'll talk about the inner circle and you won't know what that means. I know what it means. And from this inner circle, which really understands what's going on and makes the plans There are concentric circles sprouting out around it. And the farther away you get from the inner circle, the less you know, until you reach this outermost circle where we exist, and we are known as the profane. There are the initiates, the adepts, the priests, the illumined, and there are the profane. Now, the profane simply means one who does not know the truth, one who is not an initiate. People stumble around and they deal with things that they don't understand because they're dealing with an esoteric language of symbolism, and they try to make it fit in their exoteric world, and it just will not. For instance, when you read the book of Revelations, you are reading one thing. When they read an entirely different story. You read that 666 is the mark of a man. And without this mark, you cannot buy, sell, own, eat, sleep, do anything. They read it, they see that the initiated are going to rule the world. Those who have experienced the 3 degrees in 6 acts, 666. Their symbol, one of their symbols, I'm going to show you some of the symbology. I'm going to show you how you're fooled on a daily basis in dealing with these people, and how they take away your rights, how they take away your dignity, how they take away the sustenance that belongs to all of us on a daily basis. How many of you have seen that symbol? How many of you realize what it means? How many of you are old movie fans? How many of you have seen this in a movie? An old movie. One person out of the whole crowd. There was a movie where this was the ultimate symbol of those who became the rulers of the world. It's the wings around the world. It's also an ancient Egyptian symbol of the sun. The sun traversed the heavens from east to west. It's not a symbol of a UFO as the New Age movement has made it. It was never a UFO. You see, they look at the ancient Egyptian symbols and they say, the Egyptians are trying to say they saw a disk in the sky that flies. They did. It's called the sun. The sun is not a UFO, folks. Now the mysteries take this a step further. Everybody ever seen that? Maybe you've seen it in a simpler version, the snake eating its own tail. Many of you have seen this. And this, many of you know what it means. This is the caduceus, the symbol of medicine. Doctors, who as a whole are a member of the secret society, which are destroying all of us. They have perverted health. They steal from you all the time. The truth is, if you go over here for a physical, you're being robbed. There's no reason that you should ever go to a doctor unless you're really, really sick, and only then if you want to die. If you don't believe me, look at the real statistics, ladies and gentlemen. For instance, more people have died of polio after they received the polio vaccine than before. Were you aware of that? Diseases have cycles. They appear out of nowhere. They go through a progressive inclination until they become epidemic and then they decline. During this rise, they begin to say, we must discover a vaccination. And the disease gets up there and it starts to decline. They vaccinate people. There's another range of sickness, and then the disease disappears. If they had let the disease go its course, it would have gone up and down and disappeared. That's the natural cycle. It's God's way of controlling population. And every single time they've developed a vaccination for the disease, what has happened? People get sicker instead of getting well. Vaccinations introduce foreign genetic material into the human body, which can become a part of the genetic chain of the human body, and over a period of hundreds of years, or maybe even not that long, maybe 2 or 3 generations, there's a mutation which is not for the better. It is not for the better. What else can this tell us? Well, you can see clearly the number 18 there, can't you? 18 is what? 666, isn't it? This is the number of initiation. 18 is the number of initiation. The 3 degrees and 6 acts. It is the Master Mason. It is anyone who calls themselves illumined, who have been through the 3 degrees and 6 acts, no matter which organization they belong to, the Rose Cross Order, the Freemasons, the Knights Templars, the Sovereign and Military Order of the Knights of Malta, the Knights of the Red Cross of Constantine, the Knights of the Order of St. John of Jerusalem. And they're all the same organization at the highest level. Now there's something else that you can see here that's extremely important when you look. You see the symbol of the snake. The snake throughout history has been a symbol of wisdom. When you look at the hieroglyphics from the tombs of the pharaohs, they say, this is a misinterpretation because the pyramids were never tombs. Never. They were temples of initiation. That's what they are. The initiate is who lay in the sarcophagus and died a symbolic death and then was risen through the grip of the lion's paw, the grip of the Master Mason. Freemasonry is as old as man, you see. It started off with the first person who discovered a method of controlling the rest of the people around him. And he kept this a secret. And to keep it going so that there would always be leadership for the sheeple, they called themselves shepherds, by the way, because they took care of the sheep. They initiated young men into the rites and taught them throughout their life these secrets of controlling other people, and that's the only secret you'll ever find in any of these mystery schools. They get you involved and entice you to stay in until there's a point of no return when you know so much, and you've caught a glimpse of the rewards that you don't want to leave. And they dangle these secrets just in front of your arm so that you keep reaching out, but you never grab it. If you don't believe me, go snag a 33rd degree Freemason and sit down with him and tell him, you know, I want to know, what is it that's so great that you spent your life in this secret lodge that you've learned? They can't tell you because there isn't anything. There isn't anything. They don't have no great secrets. It's all just as much BS as all the other stuff is with all the other organizations around the world. How many of you knew Martin Luther, when he started the Reformation, was a member of the Rose Cross Order? His personal seal was the Rose and Cross. You can see it on every document he ever signed. How many of you understood that? You didn't know that, did you? How many of you knew that the Pope is nothing more than a Roman emperor who's just changed his name from emperor to Pope? And the same old worship of the pantheon of gods has become the pantheon of saints. And Isis has become Mary. How many of you knew that? The Catholic Church does not teach what Christ taught, and neither does any Christian church on the face of this earth. They have perverted it to the mysteries, and they teach you the exoteric interpretation of the real religion of the mystery schools. And you wonder, how did this nation get so materialistic? Because that degenerative force. The penis of Osiris was the part of his body that Isis could not find. So she made a golden substitute and set it upon the altar of Egypt, and that's what the Egyptians worshipped. That's represented by the rod. The rod is the instrument that the Pharaoh used to control the people. The rod and the flail. The figure 8 represents the flail. It also represents the feminine part of the goddess. So you have the god and the goddess, the androgynous god, male and female represented together. Right here, in front of your nose, it's been in front of your nose your whole life, but because you don't understand the symbolism of the esoteric religion of the mystery schools, you never knew what it was you were looking at. And they are so confident that we are so stupid that they put it out and display it as their symbol wherever you go. Because, for the most part, they're right. And this is what they believe. A nation or world of people that will not use their intelligence are no better than animals who do not have intelligence. Such people are beasts of burden and stakes on the table by choice and consent. They believe that if you're stupid enough to let them steal your money, that they deserve your money and you do not. They believe that if you're stupid enough to let them take your land away from you, that they deserve your land and you do not. And in the common law, that is rooted firmly as the truth, in that only one person in this world can stand up and preserve your rights, and that's you, even if it means you must fight to the death. That is firmly rooted in the law of the world, the law that sprang from the people of the world as being just. How many of you knew that when you hire a lawyer, you declare yourself legally incompetent, become a ward of the court, and the lawyer is an officer of the court, sworn to serve the court? How many of you knew that? One person. It's true, two people. We have a lot to learn, folks. And if you look around, you'll see there's not too many people really interested in learning what they need to learn to save what little we have and get back what we've already lost. The Constitution and Bill of Rights are not taught in our schools anymore. Why? Because the schools are in control of these people. There are many other symbols besides this. This is not the only one. But this is one that contains most of what they believe, so I decided to show you that. Osiris is the doctrine, Isis is the church, Horus is the body of initiates. It's the ancient religion of Babylon. It's the ancient religion of Egypt. It has always been practiced in secret throughout the world. You're taught in history books that the Egyptians worshipped the sun. They never did. They worshipped a pantheistic god. The sun was the representation of that god. It was God's son. God's son. And remnants of this religion exist in all religions today. Easter is not a Christian holiday. Easter was a pagan, sun-worshiping holiday. Jesus Christ was not born on December the 25th. but the sun was in the ancient religion of Amun-Ra. And at the conclusion of their worship service, they said, Amen, and they still do that in Christian churches today. The cross that the Emperor Constantine saw, that he said converted him to Christianity, had nothing to do with Jesus Christ. He was looking at the sun as it was low on the horizon, and he squinted, and he saw this. This is the horizon. Here is the sun. What he saw is this. And that became the Red Cross of Constantine. And a whole order of the mystery was formed, called the Knights of the Red Cross of Constantine. All religions contain the promise of a resurrection, the promise of a rebirth, the promise of a reincarnation in some religions. This came from man's fear of death. Man's fear of death. Man was born in the ancient days into a cruel, heartless world. He was at the mercy of the elements and the beasts of the field. He was at the mercy of other men who would kill him for what little he had. It was a terrible, terrible time and place to live when man began to think. You see, before man began to think, he was like the animals. He was innocent. He didn't go around having hidden agendas. He didn't go around plotting how to take something from his neighbor. He was innocent like the animal. And he ate mostly vegetables, roots, leaves, fruits. Until something happened. The first man sat down and had the first original thought, and that's when all our trouble began. It's represented in the Bible as the story of Adam and Eve and Satan, or the serpent. In the mystery religion, it's represented thusly. Man was held prisoner in the Garden of Eden by an unjust, vindictive God in the bonds, the chains of ignorance. He was a prisoner. He was set free by Lucifer through his agent Satan with the gift of intellect, primordial knowing. And through the use of that intellect, man himself will become God. And you see that everywhere. You see it in the New Age movement, you see it in the Mormon Church, you see it in all kinds of religions around the world. But everywhere there must be some promise, because remember what God said to Adam and Eve in the Bible. He said, of all the other trees in this garden you can eat, but of one you shall not eat. For if you do, you will surely die. Satan came and he said, God was lying to you. He was lying to you because he doesn't want you to have your true inheritance. Because if you eat of the tree of the fruit of knowledge, ye shall know good from evil, and be as God, and ye shall not surely die. Now notice, he didn't say they will be God. He said you will be as God, knowing the difference between good and evil. Many people have taken that to mean that man is God. Man is God, why do you die? Why do you pay rent? Make me a universe. Because it's bullshit. It's total bullshit. You may have a spark of divinity in you, each and every one of us, because we were made from the substance that God is made from, because everything stems from God. But no human being is, or ever has been, God. See, that's the promise of Satan. Satan said, "Ye shall be as gods, knowing the difference of good from evil, and ye shall not surely die." The job of the mysteries is to prove this. In the early days, when they initiated someone into the mystery schools, the mystery religion, they put them through such a harrowing experience that sometimes they had a near-death experience and they saw this light floating out in space and they were trying to get to this light. People experience that today. It's called a near-death experience. Does it occur in the mind? Is it real? No one really knows. But the mystery schools claim it is, and that light is God. And that the God is the supreme intellect of the universe. And that there are really two gods, unfortunately, because they must exist together, and that's what this representation of the androgynous God means: male, female, positive, negative, as above, so below, the yin, the yang. It's all the representation of what they believe used to be the collaboration between Jehovah and Lucifer. That's not what the Bible says. The Bible says Lucifer was never a god. He was an angel who rebelled against God and was flung to the earth to be the master of the material world. And that's why these people preach material things. They don't believe in salvation by faith. They believe in salvation by works. They are the philosophers of fire. The people who follow the God of the Bible are those of the waters of faith. The mysteries are trying to bring a reconciliation about between Jehovah and Lucifer. That's the meaning of the molten sea. Now, I know I've lost quite a few of you. I see some very blank faces down there that are, what in the world is he talking about? You see, there just isn't enough time to get into the very nitty-gritty of this and bring you up as I would someone starting from the beginning if I had unlimited time. That's what workshops are all about. But I wanted to give you some basics in this so you understand it a little better. You see, it doesn't matter whether you believe in religion or not. It doesn't matter if you believe in God or the devil or Satan or the Mormon church or the Christian church or Buddha or what. It doesn't matter. Everything that's happening in the world today is happening because of religious events that happened thousands of years ago that nobody today understands. Nobody. If you believe you know it all, and your religion is the only one in this world that's right, I'm going to make you mad by this, you're a fool. Because nobody knows. Nobody, not me. Not you, not you, not you, not you, not you, not you. If you feel you know, it is as an article of faith, because someone told you something and you believe it. And my message is, we need to find the truth, no matter what it is, and no matter who it helps or hurts, or we are going to suffer in a future world as slaves of someone who's smart enough, using technology that exists today to make us believe what they want us to believe to further their own hidden agenda. And that's what is happening in the world today. You see, these people who meet in secret and practice these secret rites have infiltrated all levels of our society, military, and government, and they are in control, and they're going to bring about a new world order, what they call the Great Plan, the completion of the Great Work. They're going to create a new root race, which they call the Solar Man, stemming from the true knowledge of the worship of the sun, the ancient religion. And anybody who won't go along with their plan is just simply going to be cast out or eliminated, or used for labor forces somewhere in some slave labor camp. They created the New Age movement, and most people in the New Age movement are practicing a religion they know nothing about, using symbols that they don't understand, cranking out religious philosophy that they've made up out of their heads because they don't understand it. And an awful lot of people are just following along. There are a lot of Christians following leaders who are lying to them. The Catholics had been following the Emperor of Rome since the Catholic Church began, and he made up his own history, said Peter was the first pope. And then he started his popeship in Rome. Peter never went to Rome. That's what real history says. The Buddhists promise an endless round on the wheel of reincarnation until you build the perfect temple within yourself. And then you can get off the wheel and go be part of the life. What fools these mortals be. If you look at when and how reincarnation as a religious philosophy began, it was when one of the rulers of India was threatened by the people because they didn't feel their lot was good enough. They weren't getting their share of the pie. So he said this, you're not getting your share of the pie. It's because God has willed it. In your past life, you were not a good person. Therefore, you were given this life to punish you, and you must live out your karma. You must be satisfied with your lot. And when you've lived out your karma, then in the next life, if you've done good in this life and accepted your lot and your punishment, then you can go higher up and be a little better. But if you're not good in this life, if you give me any trouble or anybody else, you may be a frog in your next life. That's what history says. But you find not only people from India, from the Hindu religion, believe this, but you find people all over the United States starting to believe in the philosophy of reincarnation, with no proof whatsoever, other than somebody said, you got to come back and go around on the wheel of life some more. You see, that's not good enough for me. It may be true, but I'm not going to believe it just because somebody tells me to believe it. I want to see some proof. I want to be able to make it fit right, and it doesn't. It's a perfect way to subjugate people into classes and enjoy their servitude if they believe it. But is it the truth? I don't know, and neither do you. I will probably never know, and neither will you. If you believe it, it will be as a matter of faith and nothing else. Nothing else. That's dreadful. When we believe blindly, we are easily led. We become sheeple, not people. Now remember this, folks. Sheep are always sheared and then led to the slaughter. Always. You want to be a sheeple? That's fine. If you understand you're going to be sheared and led to the slaughter, and you really want to be that, that's okay with me. But for some reason, I just don't believe that people really want to fit into that category. And so that calls for an awful lot of education. It calls for waking them up. It calls for this admonition, which you will hear if you listen to my radio show almost every time I broadcast. Don't listen to what I'm telling you. Don't believe what I'm telling you. Don't believe what Ted Koppel tells you, or Dan Rather, or Bill Clinton, or George Bush, or your preacher, or your minister, or your bishop, or your pope, until you investigate it and find out without any doubt whatsoever that it's true, and you can prove it to somebody else with hard facts. If you say it's true because I had a vision, I'm sorry, I didn't have the vision. It's true for you and only you, it's not true for me. You see? I also believe wholeheartedly 100% in the Constitution of the United States of America, and that is everyone is entitled to have their own religion and worship at the altar of their choice, and I will fight and die for that, because I know this just as sure as I know I'm standing up here in front of you today. That if I don't give you that right, I don't have that right. And if you don't like my religion, you'll take it away from me. And yes, I do have a religion. And it's my religion. And it's nobody else's business, just like yours is not my business. But we all have to understand that no matter what we believe, we are a prisoner of our beliefs. Prisoner. And the literal meaning of that word. We must learn to open our mind and not believe anything until we put it through every test. And I mean that literally, every test, and it passes every test. You know why they killed Socrates, don't you? Or actually why he had to take the cup of poison? Because he was a pain to the establishment. Because he kept putting them to the test and they kept failing. And all he did was ask questions. Nothing else. He had no army. All he had was questions, questions, questions. And he didn't believe anything until he put it to the test. And he would ask questions, and if it was true, it would stand up to the question. It would stand up to the examination. And if it was not true, it would not stand up to the examination. And very little that they ever did ever stood up to the examination of Socrates. So they tried it. As a public nuisance, found him guilty, and sentenced him to death. And in those days, death was that you drank a cup of poison administered by yourself. And his students came to him and said, if we want to set you free, we're going to break you out of here, we're going to hide you in the mountains. And he said, no. No, you see, I believe in the law. And the law has sentenced me to die. And I will carry out the sentence. Socrates was a very wise man, because he understood that if he allowed them to break him out of jail and take him to the mountains, society could be allowed to disintegrate into anarchy, which is just as bad as communism. No control is just as bad as total control. Socrates understood that. He did not want to be the example set for anarchy. Now, folks, also what you see here, the snake throughout history, as I told you, is the representation of wisdom. That's why the pharaohs, you see these in the pyramids, they wore the snake as a symbol on their headdress. Anyone that you see in any Egyptian hieroglyphic with that snake on their head was a priest of the temple of Ra. They were the wisest, most well-educated men in Egypt. And some of them were women. But they always had their separate societies, and they were always secret. What they knew as the esoteric and secret was never relayed to the people who only believed the exoteric. You see, the people who misinterpreted the symbology and the preaching that was given to them by the priests of Amun-Ra really did worship the sun. Whereas the priests knew that the sun stood for the power of God, the people thought the sun was God. Now the symbol of the phallus of Osiris is the obelisk. I'll draw one for you so that there'll be no doubt as to what it looks like. That's an obelisk, ladies and gentlemen. You'll find one in Washington, D.C. We call it the Washington Monument. It is, in reality, in the esoteric symbology, the penis of Osiris, the generative force of the mystery religion. And everywhere you see this, you will see a reflecting pool. The reflecting pool represents Isis. Osiris is the church. Osiris is the doctrine. Isis is the church. The church is represented by the reflecting pool, reflecting the pure light from her master. Remember, Osiris represented the sun, the light, Lucifer. They turned everything around in the mysteries. Lucifer is the God of good who set man free from the bonds of ignorance in the Garden of Eden. He is called the light. He's an angel of light. He's the great deceiver. Jehovah is depicted in the mysteries as the bad guy, who would deny the knowledge of good and evil to man, who would deny us the gift of intellect, who would have kept us innocent in the Garden of Eden to live an innocent life as children. Now, is there anybody in here, if I gave them the chance, would you go back to the age of 3? Anybody here? Is there anybody in this room who would? Is there anybody in this room who had a good childhood? Let me see your hand. What do you remember about your childhood? Talk real loud. Now you wish you could go back. And this is a perfect analogy. His parents had him working in the garden all the time, and he hated it then, but now I wish he could go back. And you say that about mankind in general. God had us working in the Garden of Eden, and we hated it then. We didn't know how good we had it. Now we wish we could go back. The truth is we can't. We can't. We're not innocents anymore. Remember when you were a kid and you wanted to be an adult? And when you found out what it meant to be an adult, you wanted to be a kid again? That's what I meant last night when I said we spend 21 years of our life waiting to become an adult and be responsible and be able to sign contracts without anybody else having to sign or having to ask anybody. The problem with becoming an adult is really only two. I started to say one, but that's not true. There's two. One, you lose your innocence, which is a great loss for all of us. And two, you really do become responsible. And we all spend the rest of our life fighting that. Because we don't want to be. You know why there's not more people in here listening to what I have to say today? Because they know that if they hear the truth of what's happening in this world today, they must be responsible to do something about it, and that they will resist at all costs. I've had several people come by my booth and said, Bill, I know what you're trying to do, but I don't want to know about it. And I said, that's okay, I understand. Just keep on walking. And I do, I understand it perfectly. You see, these men who think they're going to create the perfect world through their meetings in secret and their mystery schools and their elaborate perversions of the true religion throughout history, with their creation of all these different churches, and then they're hacking them up into little pieces so man can never know the truth. Their hope to be able to control us to the extent whereby they can create 1,000 years of peace. A real utopia on earth. Now what do you think the chances of that really happening are? Suppose they're able to rise to a position of power in the world and create a one-world government and bring national boundaries down. Which I don't care about national boundaries. I care about ideals and principles. Nationalism to me sucks just like it sucks to them. Principles and ideals, moral. The difference between right and wrong is what means something to me. Well, it doesn't mean anything to them because they believe that the means justifies, or the ends justifies the means.
Good night, and God bless you all.